At the conclusion of the CVR, which the Commission started on the 28th day of June 2021 and concluded on the 31st day of July 2022, the total number of completed registrations stood at around 12 million. Out of that particular number, the Commission deleted over 2 million based on the fact that we recorded multiple and double registrations and other malicious registrations. And that was what brought the total number of valid registrations to around 9 million. Now, the Commission also removed visibly underage individuals from the register. But there's a limit to which you can go in removing those you do manual adjudication on and remove them. Because there are some individuals who may look visibly underage, but they are adults. So you have to be very, very careful. Unless the person is visibly underage, you have to be very careful in removing the individual. So the Commission on its own removed those who are visibly underage before publishing the register for claims and objections. Now, I don't think that there's anything malicious. I don't think that there's anything odious in asking Nigerians to also look at the register and see whether we have done the right thing and whether there are some persons that are still on the register that are not supposed to be there. Now, the law says if somebody is diseased, the person is not supposed to be on the register anymore. The Commission can only remove those individuals that it is so obvious that they are diseased. Those their relatives have the money to do full-page adverts announcing their transition. But we cannot go to the various villages and know that somebody is diseased. It is people from that community that have the data, have the information relating to diseased individuals. And they're the only ones who can point out the fact that somebody is diseased, and then we remove the person's name from the register. For every underage registration, there must be a connivance somewhere. Either community connivance or somebody decides not to do his or her work. So the cleaning up of the voters register is a continuous process, and we'll continue to improve on the voters register as the day goes by. On the issue of burnt or buried PVCs, on the issue of buried PVCs and PVCs that were found in inappropriate locations, the Commission has concluded its own inquiry relating to those issues. And very soon, the chairman of the Commission will address Nigerians and tell Nigerians what happened and what our findings are and what we intend to do in relation to that. And so I won't go further than that, only to say that the Commission has concluded its own investigation in relation to those cars that were found in some locations and in some places that are not appropriate. Now, let me say this. I think it's uncharitable to equate the permanent voter's card with an ATM. An ATM cannot remove a government in power. The permanent voter's card can remove a government in power. So you can't equate the two of them. Furthermore, the continuous voters registration the Commission carried out was for persons who had never registered before and those who had attained 18 years. But some people concluded that they needed our PVCs for other purposes. Some people said, okay, this one, I will use this particular one where I don't do. Well, anytime I go bank, when they ask for ID, na him I go give them. This one I go, they put them for pocket. Anytime I waka for road, na him be my ID card. Then na this one I go to take vote. So one individual will insist on having 3 at the same time. I have gone, as national commissioners went round during the registration process. There is distrust for public institutions. There is no doubt about it. Why the commission was telling Nigerians that only those who have attained the age of 18 and those who have not registered before are only qualified to register. Some other persons are telling them that their PVCs issued in 2021 have expired and that they should go and register again, that the commission is lying to them because the commission wants to disenfranchise them. So while we were out there telling them the process, they say, we know them. That is, they don't want us to vote. That's why they are telling us not to register again. So that's why you had all sorts of people registering once, registering twice, and registering 3 times. Unfortunately for some of them, we have what we call the automated biometric identification system. And I'm sure the director or deputy director in charge of ICT is here. Maybe he will demonstrate some of them to you. Somebody will register in Lagos wearing a T-shirt and then go to Imo, and then he's wearing a jacket, thinking that we won't see him. The fingerprints are there, the facials are there. So wherever, even if you go and hide in the remotest village, we will still identify you. So our PVCs have power. The PVC has potency. So if we now ask people to go and do ATM, how are we going to be sure that they won't have 4? How are we sure? So I think that the processes and procedures we have adopted are the right processes and procedures. Somebody will go to a registration center, and I was there. I was in Owerri, I was in Umuahia, I was in Oka, and I observed it. Somebody will come, and you are looking at him, say, have you registered before? He said, between God and man, I have never. And then you isolate him and say, what is your name? And then you check our database, and his name is there. He said, I completely forgot. And some people will come and juggle their names. Will use their middle name and put it as their surname and juggle it in order to register, thinking that we will not see them. It is our attitude, is our values, is our culture. And we must deal with it. Why must you force somebody to go and tell the truth at the point of registration? It doesn't make sense. One woman, I saw her, the lamination just pulled up a little bit. And I told her, I said, there's nothing wrong with your car. She said it's a lie, that I've been sent to come and lie to her because we don't want them to vote. Let our people do the right thing. On the issue of those arrested, we have made it clear that in some of the malicious registrations, that some of our staff are culpable. We admitted as much. And in the places where we could identify those malicious registrations, we removed them. The staff that have been identified as having engaged in malicious registrations are facing disciplinary action now. And the moment we conclude with that disciplinary process and disciplinary procedure, if we establish the fact that they have erred, we will also hand them over to the police for investigation, and then we will prosecute them. There's no doubt about that. And with this continuous, with the display of the voters' register for claims and objections, more may be pulled in for purposes of us taking disciplinary action against them. Because the moment before you serve as a registration officer, you are given an access code. So the moment you get into our system, the system identifies you. So if you give somebody that access code and the person is using it for dubious purposes, at the end of the day, we are going to pull you in and you tell us who you gave access code to. Because for each time the person you have given your access code to goes into the system, it records that you are the one that has gone into the system because the access code is with you. Now, on the issue of assurance relating to transmission of election results and the use of the BIVAS, I have made it very clear that the BIVAS is our own creation, that the Commission's own engineers in-house developed the BIVAS and it was fabricated outside the country. We developed the BIVAS because we realized that the people were misusing the incident form and that the smart card reader can only read the fingerprints. So we needed a system, we needed a software, we needed a gadget that we read both the fingerprints and the facials. And we decided that BIVAS was an important instrument in relation to that. And we developed the BIVAS. And we said we want to use the BIVAS for the election. And we went to the National Assembly and said, National Assembly, give the BIVAS a legal backing so that nobody can challenge it. And they gave it a legal backing. What assurance, again, do we need to give people that we want to use it? We use the BIVAS in Anambra. We used it in Edo. We used it in Ekiti. We used it in Osun State. And we have used it in 105 by-elections. What other assurance? We use it in FCT. What other assurance do we need to give that we want to use it? Those who are engaged in identity theft and who are thinking that the BIVAS will not be used will be in for a big surprise. Because the BIVAS for the conduct of the 2023 elections, 2/3 of the BIVAS that are required for the conduct of this election are already in Nigeria. And before the end of December, the entire BIVAS for the 176,846 polling units and the 8,809 registration areas will be in Nigeria. And they will be deployed. And we have classified the BIVAS as a sensitive election material. And we have engaged with the various security agencies, the army, the police, the Federal Fire Service, the DSS, and are providing security for the BIVAS because the BIVAS is in the custody of the Commission. So we have adopted a hybrid approach. The BIVAS will remain with the Commission, while the ballot papers will remain with the central bank. That was the agreement we had with all the political parties, civil society groups and organizations, the security agencies, and the media. So the BIVAS has come to stay, and nothing will prevent us from using it. In relation to the issue of transmission of election level results, the law is clear that these results should be transmitted and shall be transmitted from the polling unit. That is what the law says. And the law says that during collation, if there's a dispute relating to results from some polling units, that the collation officer will call in aid the result as transmitted directly from the polling unit, the data from the accreditation data as transmitted from the polling unit, the data from the BIVAS physically handed over to him, and the original copy of the Form EC8A handed over to him. And we have made a determination that when there's a dispute relating to these issues, that the electronically transmitted result will take precedence. Where is the confusion? Where is the doubt? I can't seem to see it. On the issue of, Bayo raised the issue of some of these court cases. What the Commission if you recall, some of these pre-election matters used to go on ad infinitum, and some of them are even in court until a new regime comes in. Some of them outlast the regime that brought them in. But Section 285 of the Constitution has pegged the period within which you have to file pre-election matters. And Section 285 makes it clear that the course of action in relation to a pre-election matter accrues, and you must file it within 14 days of the accrual of the course of action. And that the Court of First Instance has 180 days within which to dispose of the matter, while the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court have 60 days apiece in cases of appeal. Now, during the Anambra governorship election, before the coming into force of the Electoral Act 2022, the High Courts of the various states and the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory and the Federal High Court had jurisdiction over pre-election matters. And as you are aware, I'm sure you are aware, Bayo, the first major case we received, or the commission was served, in relation to party primaries that took place in Anambra State, came from Jigawa State. It came from Birnin-Kudu in Jigawa State. Thereafter, we received another one from Bauchi. Then one came from Ibadan, from Oyo State. Then there was one, some from Delta, some from Imo. All the geopolitical zones at least had one relating to the party primaries conducted in Anambra. So based on this, the commission went before the National Assembly and insisted that we need to put an end to some of these forum shopping challenges. And the National Assembly agreed with us and now made the Federal High Court the only court that has exclusive jurisdiction in terms of pre-election matters. But I think that it is gratifying that the President of the Court of Appeal and the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court have intervened, and they have set up special panels to make sure that some of these pre-election matters are resolved as speedily as possible, so that we can have some level of certainty as we move towards the election. But that does not really bother us. This is because we are going to have all the 18 political parties on the ballot. And if at the end of the day, the court makes a determination that a particular individual was not supposed to be on the ballot, the implication is that whatever votes are cast for that particular individual or for that particular candidate are wasted votes. So it comes to nothing. So the court cases that are in place will not prevent elections from holding and will not prevent the commission from proceeding with these activities. On the issue of the removal of the director in charge of ICT, I think that one of the things that journalists need to do for this country, especially bureau chiefs and those who are in positions of authority within the media, is to also study our processes and procedures and how the commission operates. Every administrative secretary of the commission in all the states of the Federation are directors. All of them. You cannot be an administrative secretary of the commission without being a director. You can, if you are not a director, you can only be an acting administrative secretary. The commission made a determination that we don't even know when resident electoral commissioners are going to be appointed, and elections are approaching. So we decided on our own to deploy our best hands to the states that have no resident electoral commissioners, so that they can go and take charge, so that at the end of the day, if resident electoral commissioners are not appointed or not appointed on time, electoral activities can continue. That was our own determination. So we posted our best persons to these various places to go and take charge. So the fact that you are removed as a director from headquarters and taken to a state as administrative secretary cannot, by any stretch of imagination, be termed a demotion. Because the person is a director. Some of the directors, we also remove them from being administrative secretaries, and brought them to the headquarters because there's something we need them to do. There is no director here. They are here. That cannot be moved to any state at any time. The director in charge of what do they call them? These people who do employment. Well, what do you call them? The director in charge of human resources in the commission is in Nasarawa State as administrative secretary. So it is our own policy that we are following through. And I believe that an individual can make a difference. But you know, you make a bigger difference in a collective. The ICT is a department with a director, deputy directors, assistant directors, and it goes down. So I don't think it is right for us to magnify some of these issues. So what we did was within the administrative competence of the commission, and so many directors were moved around during that particular period because we were not sure when resident electoral commissioners are going to come. Even the resident electoral commissioners that are in now, we are taking them to Lagos for them to even understand what we do. Because a resident electoral commissioner, you have come in, you're a professor, you have a doctorate degree, you must put it inside the drawer. Because the commission is a university of its own. You put it in a drawer and then we tell you what is from EC8A. And we tell you what is reverse logistics. They have to go and learn what is from EC8A, EC8B, EC8C. And then what is from EC2B. I know, you know, these bureaucrats, when you come in, rather than tell you, talk about polling unit level result, they say, give me from EC8A. So they will not call it by its full name. They'll call it from EC8A in order to confuse you. So you have to unpack yourself when you come into the commission. So you can imagine a resident electoral commissioner that is just coming in, has to deal with all those forms we use, has to understand what is a BIVAS and how a BIVAS works, has to understand the issue of transmission of election results, has to understand how materials are moved from one point to the other and at one point, has to survey all our super racks and racks where we are going to house ad hoc staff overnight before they are deployed. The person has to learn and relearn issues. So it is next to impossibility for any of the resident electoral commissioners to fully settle down before the election. So we need administrative secretaries who have been in the system to guide them. So those who are saying we should not put our best hands in the best places want us to fail. And we will not fail, and we won't agree to fail. On who will be on the second ballot? Just give me that document, make I read them. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which you call the ground norm, which is the fundamental law of the land, was what I was reading. If you look at section 134, subsection 2 of the Constitution, it provides that, and it says, a candidate for an election to the office of the president shall be deemed to have been duly elected where there be more than 2 candidates for the election. He has the highest number of votes cast at the election, and each or at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Then it goes further to say, that subsection 4 says, in default of any candidate duly elected under the foregoing subsections, the Independent National Electoral Commission shall, mandatory, shall, within 21 days of the result of the election, held under the said subsection, arrange for an election between the two candidates, and the candidates at each election shall be deemed to have been duly elected to the office of president if in their own, I don't understand that one. So now it says that in default of the candidate duly elected in accordance with subsection 2 of this section, there shall be a second election in accordance with subsection 4 of this section, at which the only candidate shall be A, the candidate who scored the highest number of votes, at any election held in accordance with the said subsection 2 of this section, and B, one amongst the remaining candidates who has the majority of votes in the highest number of states. So the Constitution did not say the person who came second in the election. The second person is one among the remaining who has a majority. If you see, subsection A used the word highest number of votes. YB used one among the remaining who has majority of votes in the highest number of states. Majority in the highest number of states. So I want to leave it, at this, because if I go further than this, you have to pay consultation fee. I will now transform into a lawyer. Yes. Our ballot paper does not contain the names of candidates. Just a minute. Our ballot papers does not have the names of candidates. It has the logo of political parties. Just a minute. For the second election, we will also print ballot papers for 18 political parties. It is now the responsibility of the Nigerian people. It is now, no, just a minute. The moment, no, just a minute, just hear me. When elections are over and no candidate emerges, the commission will make a determination of the candidate that has the highest number of votes and the one that has the highest spread. So if it is the PRP that scored the highest number of votes, it will be on the ballot. If it is the PPP that got the highest majority in the highest number of it will be on the ballot, and Nigerians will know. What about the 16 other parties? The 16 other political parties, if you go and put anything for them, whatever you have put in is a wasted vote. Let me just say this. No, excuse me. Let us get this thing right. Excuse me. The first election, which is the presidential and national assembly elections. The presidential election is not the only election the commission is conducting during the first period. We are conducting election to the Senate and to the House of Representatives. We have to announce the winners. Yes. We have to announce the winners. We have to announce the winners for the Senate and the House of Reps. And there's a possibility that by the time we are done with all these things, it's almost a week. So you have removed 7 days from the 21 days given to the commission. Then you still have governorship election and state assembly elections pending within this particular period. So the commission cannot turn back and begin to go up and down. Yes, and begin to go up and down, looking for security printers to go and print ballot papers during this particular period. So what the commission will do within this particular period, and what the political parties will do within this particular period, is to engage in massive voter education, so that Nigerians will know the political party that got the highest number of votes and the political party that will be the second party on the ballot. I don't think that there's anything odious about this. And so you cannot print 93 million ballots when you have governorship elections to contend with, you have state assembly elections to contend with, you are declaring winners for senatorial election, you are declaring winners for House of Representatives elections, and there's also a possibility that some of the governorship elections may also go into a runoff, because the same thing applies to governorship elections. So it is a compromise, it's a middle way between offending the provisions of the Constitution and engaging in electoral continuity. You have to also realize that Section 132 of the Constitution has given the Commission the time frame and the window within which to conduct this election. And the moment you get outside that time frame and that window, you throw the country into a constitutional crisis. Because the Constitution did not tell us what will happen if we are unable to contest the election. To conduct the election. It says an election to the said office, that is the office of the president, shall be held on a date not earlier than 150 days and not later than 30 days before the expiration of the term of office of the last holder of that office. One day outside this, the country goes into a constitutional crisis. And the only remedy will be a state of emergency. So, for us not to throw the country into a constitutional crisis, we have to meet each other halfway. So, we should be praised for being proactive in terms of the approach we are adopting to constitutional issues. But wait a minute. Since 1999, every electoral commission had always printed ballots for the second election when the main ballot was being printed. So in the tradition of openness, I have put it on the table. Thank you very much.